Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Justin Bell Show, and it's a really special one. We're all looking a little tired because just got back from the epic 24 Hours of Daytona presented by Rolex, and it was an extraordinary weekend. It was actually an extraordinary week. I'm obviously a youngster in the sport, but there were people that have been around since the early days of IMSA who said that they've never seen anything like it. And, you know, I coined a phrase, it was like the best of the, well, this is the new era of the good old days. And I'm about to bring on a great guest of ours who is the president of IMSA, who definitely has sort of caretaked this and mentored this series over the last few years. We also have joining us Joao Barbosa, who is winner of the race. Dane Cameron's going to join in. He's with the number 6 Penske Acura. And also Catherine Legg, who is one of my favorite drivers for all sorts of reasons. So I just thought there's so much going on. Let's bring in Scott, because I definitely want to hear what he feels as he has been recovering. Scott, how do you feel? Have you got some sleep?
Well, I think my feeling is probably much the same as anybody else that was there that weekend. It's exhaustion, but for all the right reasons. We've had a bit of a recovery period here, but as you would expect, just about everybody was back in the office early Monday morning, pressing on again. So there's not much of a break around this place.
Well, you know, it was almost when the race came round, it gave us a chance to almost reflect on, well, me actually, I actually felt it was the one time I could relax because the build-up was so intense. We have our own homegrown superstar drivers, don't we? Which capture the fans' imagination. But definitely when you bring in the likes of Fernando Alonso and obviously Lando Norris, the sort of young British phenom, I think it just added a whole nother dimension. Could you feel that walking around like we could?
Well, no question. And we could feel it all the way back, candidly, to the weeks and some would say even the months leading up to it. And to your point, the build up to this made the actual start of the race almost a relief, because at that point you feel, okay, you know, it's up to everyone else now, or at least up to others. When we knew we had the developments coming that were locked and loaded with new teams, new drivers, new manufacturers, and as you've pointed out, we've always had great personalities, great drivers in our ranks, but now we've got some household names. The promotional plans that we put together that included New York City and being a part of the NASCAR Media Day up in Charlotte, it's weeks in planning and then executing, and then to have had the results that we got from that long before we ever pulled into the paddock across the street in Daytona. But all of that buildup could not have been better. And then to have delivered the overall experience that people had over this past weekend, just a lot to be proud of all the way around.
Yeah, I definitely got the feeling that I'm not a surfer, but I got the feeling we were riding a very big wave but the wave that we'd all created. You know, IMSA sort of had that amazing foresight to get where we are with the regulations. But just from a personal level, go back. When I first met you, and we've done many interviews together, but when IMSA first started and the series all came together and Jim France, you know, sort of amalgamated everything, put it all under one roof. I don't know if we even, I mean, maybe you all super duper smart, but you hit it very well. I mean, we really did arrive. What a journey. Take me back. So much has changed. What are the key couple of things that have changed in your opinion?
I got to give you credit. That's probably one of the best backhanded compliments I've ever heard. So well done, you. All credit to Jim France, not only having the vision, but having the guts to put all the resources in play that enable the two sports car platforms to come together. And believe it or not, that was all the way back in September of 2012 when that all started. And I've said to many people recently, most especially this past weekend, what we're all experiencing right now is the byproduct of that merger. And we went through a very painful process to merge the two entities together, because unlike some other examples that have come before us, this truly was a merger. Ed Bennett and myself and our collective teams, we went through and deployed a best practices review policy of every aspect of the business and the sport. And then you come up with a set of compromised everything that effectively makes everybody unhappy. But you keep in mind that there's a bigger strategy in play here that's all going to come together. You just got to hang in there with us.
And you were like equal offenders, wasn't it? No one was singled out. It was just a rough road. So we ended up there this weekend. And of course, the proof was in the pudding. It was outstanding. But I can just see our race winner has popped onto my screen below. And if you could see what I see, Scott, which you're about to see in a minute, there's way too many watches on his desk. It's quite revolting. But just on a personal level, what was your highlight of the weekend? When you're telling your grandkids in 20 years' time, you'll be saying, God, that race, that was special. What was your biggest memory?
Yeah, the biggest memory is two things, actually. One, just walking the paddock, and we've always done that. That's been our stock and trade, and it's deliberately to make yourself a target. And historically, that's been a target to shoot at. And I will say it gets tiring sometimes, taking one bullet after another. This year, whether it was Simon Hodgson, David Pettit, Courtney Bigelow, Ed Bennett, myself, we were all feeling the same things. There's just so much positive energy, positive momentum, a lot of compliments. So that was one. The second was walking back to the IMSA compound from the winner's circle after the race was over and having a very prominent team owner approach me and basically say that was the best overall balance of performance, best overall managed event we've had. And then having the phone ring, and again, another prominent team owner, and I couldn't take the call, so it went to voicemail. And I expected a complaint. I expected an agenda.
Oh, really?
To go well, and it was just the opposite. It was an unsolicited hats off to IMSA, the entire team. Event couldn't have been better. So I'm fortunate to be the one that oftentimes gets to talk to people like you and take credit on behalf of IMSA. But there's a small army. It's not a lot. There's not many of us compared to some other examples, but it's a lot of people that have made this possible.
Wow, I'm glad you recognize the team because the team are so big. Yes, Andreas, as you're saying, IMSA has become so good. And someone else has just said here, Devin, you'll like this one. Before I let you go, can IMSA add more races to the season? Well, there's a fan for you.
Yeah, I get that a lot, and I have the pleasure of working directly with our promoter partners. And for a long time now, we've had more demand from promoters that want IMSA weekends than we have the ability to accommodate. We're very sensitive to our teams, the budgets, the implications of adding more races. I won't say it'll never happen, but for now, we're very pleased with our calendar and feel like we've got the best of the best already there. But we'll see as time goes by.
Well, one last question, and someone else said, excellent job, Scott, so that's nice. Mustafa Ali said, excellent job this weekend. How does IMSA build on that for Sebring to continue the momentum? I mean, is there anything that could be made better?
Well, to be really candid, it probably wasn't our most exciting race. Bar the GTD race coming into Sunday, you had such dominant performance from the Action Express group. Same thing could be said for Ganassi and the Ford and GTLM. Yeah. The GTD race was outstanding right to the end, which it typically is. We would love to carry forward everything that occurred at the Rolex, build upon that with the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, and have that, as is become the normal, have that nail-biting finish where you don't know who's going to win the race until the last minutes of the race. And who knows? Nobody can predict the future, but I wouldn't bet against it.
Perfect. Well, listen, Scott, thanks so much for joining. I know there must be a lot of you spend your life in meetings, so I'm sure you're on your way to another meeting. But I know we'll see each other before Sebring. It might be fun to listen to what the other guys have got to say. I mean, Zhao's actually clinking down. He looks like a rapper. He's got so much jewelry on with his watches. I'm going to say goodbye now, and we'll see you soon, Scott. Thanks a lot. Well, right now, jumping in here, look at that. My old teammate, Zhao, how are you?
Very good. How are you, Justin?
I am so good. Look, do you know what? I put my little things behind me. I have boxes of trophies over there and things, I promise. But yours are your display cabinet looks far more impressive. Brazilian sort of Portuguese yellow behind you, but more importantly, the Rolex is on your desk, right?
Yes, yes.
Three of them now. Three of them. You have two arms. How are you going to handle that?
Four. I have one from 2003 in GT at the time. Yeah. So.
Oh my goodness, that you collected the whole. But how do you feel 2 days later? It just must be outstanding.
I mean, it feels really good. Obviously, it was a great race. Like Scott said, probably not the most exciting race all the way until the end for the fans to watch. But let me tell you, for us, was very, very intense. Probably one of the toughest ones to follow to the end.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, and last year was just, I was in the pit lane so much, all the races last year, and it was like the season that didn't quite come together in so many ways, right? And then you start off this year. Is that why? I mean, look at the picture there, everybody. That is the picture of Christian and Joao when their teammate Albuquerque came into the pits. I mean, you look relatively happy at this moment. You must have just been over the top.
I think it was more relief because until the end, we really didn't know if we're going to make it or not. So you got to a point around like 15, 20 minutes to go that we decided, we go to the end no matter what. If something happens and the engine is too hot and it stops, then it stops. But obviously, the team knew what they were doing. And they had all the data, all the engine guys, the Cadillac people, the engineering, everybody was following to all the limits. They were stretching the limits very, very much. And we at one point we thought about stopping, but we would lose the one of the laps that we still have, and we couldn't push anymore. Otherwise, we wouldn't make it to the end. So it was very, very stressful all the way to the end. But I was really relieved to see the checker fly.
I bet you were, because Calvin, who I'm going to bring in a little bit, Calvin Fish was in the booth and they were talking a lot about it. We were speculating what was going on. But, I think, and actually I respect Scott for bringing it up. People said it wasn't the most exciting race for the fans because the stories were very internal. Everyone was having their own struggles. But from the outside, because we didn't have any yellows other than two yellows, it actually meant you guys had to run wide open with absolutely no chance of break. It started to take a toll, though, didn't it?
Probably that was one of the issues. We never see a 24-hour race go this long and without any yellows, and so few yellows. It was unbelievable. The pace until the night, I was like, this is gonna be maniac. This is gonna be like Road Atlanta all over again. It's. And then when the sun started to come up again, the sunrise, you could see some of the teams were falling back. Some had more issues than others. But because the pace until there was so intense, everybody was battling like it was a 2-hour race. So I have to say it was a lot of fun until that point. But I was really relieved when we start to see some problems overheating. I had to pace myself a lot. And then we went through Christian and also to Felipe in the closing moments of the race. But it's glad we had that little cushion, because otherwise nobody could run till the end.
Nobody could run to the end. So tell me what it was like, because did you ever test a Formula One car? Did you ever get to?
Yeah, I tested the Formula One car in '96 in Italy after my season in Formula 3. It was pretty cool, actually. But it was just a test. It was a test for being the best rookie and finish second in the championship.
Okay. No, only because I was just thinking, we all have our aspirations, right? Our dreams when we start racing. And I think you're living nearly everyone else's dream by being, one of the top runners in the IMSA series. But having Alonso there, just seeing him in the driver's briefing, seeing him walk around, that was very cool in the run-up to the race. But what was it like when the race actually started? Did you go on track at the same time as him? He was pushing like the best of the rest there, wasn't he?
Yeah, of course, everybody's pushing. If you get to this point, I think IMSA, like you were just talking with Scott, have done a tremendous job in attracting new teams and new drivers to the series. But also, I mean, the competition, it's incredibly fierce now. Everybody knows the cars are strong. I mean, we can run very hard and they're very fast. And we have drivers from Formula One that wants to do the 24 hours of Daytona. You have drivers from Indy that want to do the Rolex 24 at Daytona. So, I mean, it's really creating a lot of interest, and it's great to see. I mean, when you're on the radio, okay, you're fighting with Montoya, and you're fighting with Alonso is in the car, you know, keep pushing. I mean, you hear different names that you're not used to see, and you're only used to hear it in other series. So it's really cool to finally get everybody together, like Paul di Resta, Lance Stroll, all those guys. I mean, it was really cool to see like even the scoreboard with the different names that you only see on Formula One races and IndyCar races.
I know. That's what I like to hear. But also, I think it's, I guess going back to that thing, when you are a driver, you measure yourself by your competition, right? The best of the rest. And I think for you, this was such a clean race for everybody. And yes, their car, the United Express car, didn't really have that, you know, they didn't really have that good a run. But what a thing for you to say you've beaten the caliber of drivers like that. So this Rolex must be very special.
Yeah, it's very special. Also, not only on the driver's side, but you know, Action Express has been in business since 2010 and won many championships, and already it's on its third Rolex win as well as a team. So I don't think until this point that they really got the credit that they were like deserved to
as good as they were, because they really are good, aren't they?
You know? They really are the best in the business in the endurance racing. I mean, they are definitely the team to beat with the first and second place in a race like it was Daytona this year. I mean, it just shows the amount of work and the amount of quality these guys have. But when you see teams of like Penske and Jost and United Autosport and ESM coming to the race, I mean, it's not any team. Penske and Jost, I mean, they are like the top teams in
the world, actually.
So, and we got to Daytona and we beat them fair and square. So I think Action Express also deserves a lot of credit to the way they managed the situation all the way to the end to bring the win home. And it was very, very special.
Yeah, it was just that feeling, the crowds, the people, I've never seen the grid like that. I mean, we had huge grids the last 3 years, I've got to say, right? The grid walk. Yeah. I try for Fox Sports, you know, to do my little grid walk. And based after last year, when I got about 16 feet, we just said, okay, just go to the front of GTLM and do the front two cars. It was amazing seeing how the fans were there. They stuck around. When you're going, I can't really remember, but on the banking through the night, especially as you go down the backside, well, basically in the middle of NASCAR, the NASCAR corners, you become quite aware of everything that's going on the infield. You see the people, you see the campfires, you see the people, you definitely see the fireworks go off. It's pretty unique, isn't it?
It is, especially, I mean, the banking is a little tough to really see because of the angle of the car, and these cars are quite narrow, so you don't really get a perfect vision. But when you're coming out of the horseshoes and you see the smoke and you can really see the fires and you see the grandstands on the infield packed at 3 a.m., it's truly an amazing feeling. You see all the campers, you smell the barbecues at some point. So it's unbelievable what IMSA has created, and the infield was packed. I don't know. I'm sure you had a chance to go through the infield.
Yeah, I went and had a walk around. I went and walked around after I went and tried to do a Facebook Live just to go and see everybody. And I tell you, I will challenge the Daytona fans. They're pretty well behaved. They're pretty well behaved because I think they know they're being watched because it's in a bowl. It's like a stadium. So I think they feel we better behave ourselves, which they're saving up for Sebring. So let's talk about Sebring. Sebring is going to be something else, though, right? I mean, gloves off again, but everyone knows what they're dealing with now. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, everybody. I think this was actually the really first race that everybody was trying to measure themselves upon. You know, it's like everybody was kind of looking to the next guy. What can they do? How strong they are? Because until the race started, nobody really knew what the pace would be, how fast we would go, what the competition would do. So now gloves are off completely. Sebring Sebring is going to be a very tough race again. We're not expecting any easy race.
No. Well, I don't think you're not going to have an easy race this year. I'll tell you that. That is 100%. Before I let you go, someone's just said you should actually borrow some of my socks to wear in the prototype. I actually, I drove this weekend. João, do you know I drove? I drove the 1995 winning Porsche Kramer Spider.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did on Saturday morning for Kevin Jeanette. And it was so analog, the car. The little steering wheel, it has a key, basically.
Like all the buttons. They had no buttons, right?
There were no buttons. And do you know why they have to ask veterans like myself to drive? Because the young kids have never changed gear. And they don't know how to heel and toe. So in about 35 years, I'm going to be useful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Hey, João, listen, have really enjoyed the time. I know you're going to train hard and enjoy being with your family. Has your wife asked you to resize one of those Rolexes yet to fit her?
Of course. I mean, like we were talking, and she always said, I mean, the next Rolex has to be for me because everybody else is going to have one. I only had 3. Now, here it is.
There it is. I love that. How beautiful is that? I have one question here I'm going to ask you because it's a good one. From Jamie. What did you do for the first 24 hours? How did you recover?
Actually, it was pretty cool recovery. I had to drive 8 hours to North Carolina the next day. So
okay, the glamorous life. I'm actually going to bring in Calvin now. I'm going to bring in Calvin now because I thought he could say he hasn't seen you. He wasn't there at the end of the race.
How are you, mate?
Hey, we miss you at the track this year.
I know. It's tough not being there, but amazing run, mate. I mean, against the best of the best. I mean, it must make you and the whole group feel very proud to beat some of those big names on the grid, and the fact that Joost and Penske are there. Hats off to you and the whole organization. An amazing run.
Thank you so much. They deserve great credit for sure.
They do. Well, João, we'll speak to you soon. Take care, my friend, and I'll see you at Sebring.
Thank you. It was nice to see you, Calvin. Thanks, Justin. See you in Sebring.
Bye.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Wow, he's really... Hey, mate, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, good.
I'm fresh.
Well, do you know what? I am fresh now. It was a little bit... Well, do you know what isn't fresh is that suit up there behind me. I can tell you that suit is definitely not fresh. I thought, I'll hang up my Fox suit.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not one of Townsend's. Oh, my goodness. That is terrible. Yeah, quick. What do you call it? PSA, public service announcement. Townsend Bell, my brother from a different mother, had a robbery at his house. As most of you probably know, they stole his Indy 500 rings for participation. They stole his Daytona Rolex. Someone give it back. And if you see anything on eBay, not just saying Bell, because a lot of my stuff's on eBay, but if you just coming back in, we obviously had a little blip there. Sorry, everybody. Calvin's just coming back in now. Whoa! And I have, Dane's joined as well. This is all happening in one go. Hey, Dane, sorry about that. You all right? Good. We were just talking about how don't go on eBay and look for things that say Bell because it's probably mine. If it's Townsend's, you can give it back. But first of all, I just starting with Calvin. I think definitely it was an amazing race in terms of records being broken. And Dana, you were out there a lot of the time. But it put a lot of demands on everything, didn't it, Cal?
Yeah, it's a very different race to what we expected. I mean, we always talk about keys to victory as kind of sharpening the weapon for the last 3 or 4 hour sprint to the finish. But I think we all the message came through loud and clear like 3 or 4 hours in. I mean, we kept going caution free. And suddenly you saw teams that were very strong were developing these big gaps very early. And that felt more like a Le Mans 24.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that probably caught some people off guard. Maybe people who have been a bit conservative with their pace early on, just thinking just hang in there and stick around, we'll be okay at the end. But, yeah, quite extraordinary. I mean, amazing grid of cars. Certainly looking forward to the sprint part of the season with
I know.
the grid and the teams. But, yeah, very different 24 hour.
Very different. Calvin, I'm actually going to slide you down. If you could just hang out for a little bit in the lobby, I'm going to talk to Dane because, after all, he's a racing driver and we're retired. All right? I'll speak to you in a second. Right. You might have to rejoin, Cal. I think I'm going to disconnect you totally. You might have to jump back in. All right, mate. Well, congratulations. I mean, you finished, you survived it, but I guess a lot of lessons learned.
Yeah, certainly. It was good to get the first one out of the way, get the first one done. Weren't quite sure what's really to expect, and as you were saying, it's a very different race compared to normal for Daytona. I think we showed really well at various stages. Ultimately, not the result we wanted, but I think we showed that we're ready to go for the season to compete for wins right out of the box.
I should have mentioned, of course, that Dane Cameron drives the number 6 Penske Acura DPI with Juan Pablo Montoya and Simon Pagenaud. I mean, 2 champions, big champions. And when you got the drive this year, I got to say, mate, that it was like I didn't text you or anything. It was on my to-do list, but I did think about it. I thought, I bet you've had an enormous amount of response from everyone saying that you deserved it. It was it was about time. What an opportunity! But as a career move goes, you must have just, when you got the call, when you got the deal, you must have just gone, wow, this is epic for my career.
Yeah, really, really proud and really happy to get the opportunity, like you said, and the response was really nice. And when you got guys like Montoya and Pagenaud for teammates for the long races and Juan for the full season, it's pretty tough to beat that. And to see my name with those 2 guys on the door was pretty special for the first time. And yeah, just a really tremendous opportunity to be with Acura and be with Team Penske, and looking forward to making the most of it and hopefully racking up a bunch more wins. It was a bummer to see Daytona get away, but we still got Sebring and a championship at the end of the year still to go for. So I like our chances.
So let's talk about teammates. Talent withstanding, they are physically slightly different, right? When Simone, I saw walking back in the middle of the night, Simon looks like, a French racing snake, right? He's built like you, he's skinny, he does his thing, muscular, but skinny. JPM has never really looked at fitness in the same way, has he? I think his talent outshines it. But I watched him walking off covered in sweat, having just basically that one session where he beat everyone up to bits. Do you remember that? I mean, he had one session where it was like he was fully aggressive. Yeah. And he got out of the car and he's smiling where he's laughing with his buddy and he heads off. And I thought, I wonder if they have to have adjustable lap belts. That was what came to my mind.
Absolutely. It's a bit tricky when your widest guy is also the shortest guy, but
yeah, exactly.
But like you say, I think Juan's one of those guys where he's got so much natural ability. It really just doesn't stress him too much to get it done and to go drive. So yeah, it might be a bit sweaty when he gets out, but he's where the rest of us actually have to try and really think about it. He's just kind of along for the ride. So he's a maniac, that guy.
Yeah, he probably is one of the most natural drivers ever to get behind the wheel of a car, isn't he?
Certainly, yeah, for sure. And I think that's why he just gets in and gets it done and doesn't make too much of a fuss out of it, and gets out with a smile on his face every time.
What are debriefs like? Is he really get into it? I mean, how do you find that work? Because how does that work?
It's actually been really good, and I was kind of pleasantly surprised to see we're actually quite similar with a lot of the stuff that we like and the way that we drive. So that's all been pretty good. And he's definitely not a show up and just drive and walk away kind of guy. He's got so much experience from his F1 days, IndyCar days. He's been competing at such a high level for so long. He can really help you get the most out of the car as well and push the envelope forward. So
think about his database. Think about what he's felt. Think about the speed. Yeah. Hey, I love this question. This is from Jamie Dollinger, who says, what did you do to accelerate your integration into the Team Penske culture? And obviously you said about the driving styles.
Yeah, it's still ongoing. So I'm fortunate enough I live in North Carolina, so not too far from the shop in Mooresville. So been spending quite a lot of time over the winter just trying to remember everybody's names really for the most part. It's such a big team compared to a lot of the places that I've been. So just trying to soak it all in and get up to speed and kind of figure out the who to go to for what, because it's just the manpower there is impressive.
Manpower. So I know that I actually said it during almost in my final piece to camera from the pit lane. I looked up and I just saw Tim Cindric up there, head down, everyone working. He's such a nice, friendly guy. But, when they're in business mode up in that tower, it's you know, they don't think they hand around the sweeties. They're pretty serious. But you could see they weren't backing off. They did the most perfect pit stop. It was as though they were leading the race. And I thought to myself, they are just in this intense data gathering session right now. I mean, the machine is running. Are you going to be testing a lot between now and Sebring? You know, they're going to come back stronger for the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure what else we'll have on the docket aside. There's the series test for prior to Sebring in late part of February. So hopefully the boys get a couple of days off. But yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, both cars had separate issues through the middle of the night. But, you know, that was a chance you could have just kind of laid over and then said, okay, we'll just kind of ride around and wait for it to be over. But everybody really kind of dug their heels in and pushed on. And you didn't really know how the race was going to unfold. Just because we didn't see cautions on the first part of the race didn't mean that you might not see them on the other side. So, and also you got the championship to think about. So everyone kind of stuck their heels in and really kept pushing on as if we were still in the fight for it and tried to make the most of it and still learning more about our car. And as you say, it was all a bit of, not necessarily a dress rehearsal, so to speak, but as you say, still gathering a lot of information, seeing what we can do better for pit stops, tires, everything about it, and take that information to Sebring and hopefully get that win.
I'm going to call it a well-dressed rehearsal because everyone looked the car looked cool. It was great. I'm just going to ask you this one last question. Expectations, Alex Murphy asking, expectations for the season?
To win it all.
Yeah, why not? Just do that. There you are, Alex. That's what they do. They don't mess around. I mean,
I've said it a couple of times through some various pieces, and you don't join Team Penske and Acura with any other expectation other to win right out of the box. So we showed both cars, I think, led at different stages during the race, and we're ready to win, I think, and hopefully we can come away with a championship and several wins throughout the year.
And get prepped to try and win a watch next year because that watch is really, really good. Dane, listen, I really appreciate it. Thanks very much, mate. Enjoy, train, do what you do, get fit. We're back at Sebring in way too few weeks.
Yeah, it'll be here soon. Thanks so much.
It will be. Take care, Dane. Take care, mate. All right, let's bring Calvin back in quickly there because Calvin, there you are watching. All right, Cal.
I'm there.
There you are. There you are. You should see. My dashboard actually looks like the inside of one of those DPIs. How this show works.
Race, right?
So it was. We didn't get to see each other, but I obviously heard your voice a tremendous amount, as you heard mine. It was a weird one. Do you get what I say about it? It was like the problems were internalized, weren't they? Every team was having their own issues, but it wasn't on public display. And what do you say when I've had a lot of people saying that was actually one of the most boring Rolex 24 hours we ever had at Daytona with sort of moments of excitement. Is that how you describe it?
Well, you didn't keep getting the reset. So when you have a caution and everyone's bundled back together, you then go racing again. And certainly those first laps of any new restart are very exciting. So we didn't have that happening so frequently. But I think there was a lot of intrigue going on throughout the course of the different classes. In particular, GTD still remained with like 5 or 6 guys on the lead lap, and girls, of course, on the lead lap. So that one went right down to the wire. You know, in the prototype ranks, you know, the tire issues were certainly a concern. And coming into the race, Justin, I mean, we've been talking that the headlines have been Penske returning, Yost coming with Mazda. But I've always said, like, don't forget how strong our IMSA teams are.
Yeah.
I mean, White Taylor Racing and Action Express have won the last 5 championships, and they're not going to go down easy, and they proved that this weekend. They sat on the pole with Wayne's car, and Action obviously had a 1-2 finish. So Penske certainly had pace. They had the lead of the race a few times, and they had individual problems. And to Dane's point, they kept digging. And I think when the 6th car went down with the alternator issue, to my recollection, they were like 22, 23 laps down. I think they were about 16 at the end. So without a ton of yellows, they made up 6 laps on the lead. So
yeah,
they had tremendous pace, and you know that they would have executed at the end of the day. So it sets up brilliantly for the end of the year in terms of all of the different racetracks that we go to. I think Mazda will come back stronger. I mean, Ralph Yutton has been out and said, listen, we learned a lot. We've got a lot to do to get ready for Sebring, and they're not going to go down easy. So they're a quality group. And throughout all the classes, I mean, Ford kind of dominated things. And I'm kind of curious on that one, mate, is like it was a 1-2 we don't do this stat, but I'd love to know what the separation was between those cars for the whole 24 hours, because they seem to be joined at the hip. And the car pulled a little bit of a strategy thing at the end with a couple of 3 pit stops to go, got the track position, and looked like their car was a little bit sharper at the end. We now understand the 66 may have had a little damage during Bourdais' last stint. So, but unbelievable intensity there. And they weren't just cruising around. They were pushing it very, very hard. So, yeah, it wasn't the excitement of the restarts and everyone going racing again for a few laps before it settles in again and gets back to a rhythm. But I think there was a lot of intrigue throughout the course of the race. And even in the last hour, with the 5 cars' engine issues highlighted, the 31 car came into the garage area for a clean out as well. So you have to think at one point that 54 squad was thinking, we may steal this.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I walked down there and I'm going, no, I mean, you could see it on everyone's faces. There was a chance. It was almost, I kept on waiting. Well, you know, in our TV thing, you go, oh, it hasn't rained yet. Immediately it'll rain. You go, there hasn't been a yellow yet. Immediately there's a yellow. So it's like sod's law that something was going to happen. And I walked down there thinking, well, do you know what? The minute I walk down here and see their faces, obviously something's going to happen at the front. And but nothing happened. Nothing did. It was outrageous. Well, there you are. Everybody, if you ever want to know what happens in sports cars, just ask Calvin to talk for 3 minutes and you'll know exactly what happened for 24 hours. Mate, you know everything.
No, it's all about having a good team. It's no different to whether it's Joao Barbosa or Dane Cameron. It's all about the people you're around. And we have a great group, and it's 24 hours of coverage, and you try and keep it as lively as you can, even when there are some times in a race, particularly a 24-hour race, that it does get a little bit dull. You try and put some icing on that cake and make it fun. Certainly coming down to the pits with you boys and girls adds to that, and having all the personalities get in. And that's the great thing about sports car racing, is that you've always got drivers getting in and out. So, you know, we're there on the field. It's like talking to Tom Brady after he's just thrown an interception. One walks up to him.
Did you see when Alonso got out after that first pit stop? I'm standing there and I said to my camera guy, I said, do you know what, I'm going over the minute he takes off his helmet. But I didn't want to let anyone know what I was going to do. Other than him. So the minute he took off his helmet, I flew across the wall, and it was a great interview. He was so nice. And I'm not starstruck by anyone, but you're looking at him, his hands, his eyes, and I'm thinking to myself, that is a man that he's one of the best, of my life to watch, and how lucky we are to have him here. That was really cool.
He was simply mega, mate. I mean, just to have the headline of him coming to the 24-hour race and just how he conducted himself throughout the course of the month was just superb. I mean, I saw a piece of Mark put out, talking about the race and how he responded to knowing about Robin Miller being sick and stuff. The guy's just first class. He loves racing. Obviously, today it's announced that he's probably, and I respect him that he didn't do the Toyota announcement during the Daytona week. Let that finish, and then wait for a new week and make the announcement that he's going to Le Mans this year with Toyota. So he's first class, and I think he enjoyed himself. But I tell you what, his young teammate, Justin, I was just looking at some data this morning. He was equally as quick. Lando.
You mean Nando? Oh,
he is phenomenal.
Jeez, I've been following him, right? I've been following him through the BRDC, the British Racers Driving Club, and you watch his thing, and I mean, what did the data say? Because I just thought he was outrageous in the car. He just did the job. He's never been in a car longer than 45 minutes, he said.
His averages were a bit better than Fernando, and I think he had the fastest first and second sector, or so. He had two of the fastest sectors in the car compared to Fernando. So he was equally as quick. I haven't delved deep enough to say he was quicker than Fernando, but he was on it. And certainly the man or the boy is amazingly talented, and who knows, we may be entertaining him as a Formula One world champion coming back to Daytona.
I think we will. I took a selfie. I think he just thought, who's this old British guy? I think he's too young to even know who my dad is.
It's funny because TK mentioned on the show he went after the Road Racing Drivers Club dinner. He went back to his hotel, and there's this McLaren pull up beside him. He thought it was going to be Fernando, and out jumped the two young kids.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. Hey, so this is a good question. Now with Jamie's asked this. Now with Penske, Alonso, and others entering the 24, who else would you like to see come to IMSA as a one-off? I mean, we all got our heroes, but I think mine was Alonso, actually. I'd like to see Button. Who would you like to see?
Yeah, I think Jensen was looking for somewhere to go. He doesn't want to hang up the helmet yet. He's doing that Super GT deal. So there was a lot of talk about him maybe joining the Penske squad. That obviously did not happen. But with the Honda ties, it seemed like a natural fit. But I think, I think we will see. I think they break new ground. They break new territory when guys like Fernando come over and say how much they enjoyed it. And listen, I qualified 13th. It wasn't like he went out there and just stuck it on the pole and blew everyone.
No.
That's a testament to
I know.
how competitive it is here. And I think there will be other boys from Formula One. And what's super cool, though, is that Zach Brown and McLaren are allowing him to do it. I mean, it was probably a requisite in getting him a re-sign, but because he obviously had serious demands about doing other forms of racing. But it was the old way, and then with Formula One, it became, no, you're not going to touch anything else. And then we saw Nico Hülkenberg go to Le Mans with Porsche 3 years ago and win. And Fernando was now breaking new territory. Lance was there, obviously. So I think there will be a few more boys come over and do it, which would be tremendous.
Yeah, totally cool. For any of the viewers that don't know, because I think we forget how good you are, what made me think of you is I watched the Williams documentary on the Delta flight home. Have you seen it yet?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
I mean, it was brilliant. And I mean, I did have tears in my eyes at the end. Any of you haven't watched it, Claire Williams, basically it's narrated through her, and they watch it, and Frank and stuff I didn't know. And then, of course, there's a couple of great shots of, Senna right there doing his thing. But anyone that doesn't know, Cal, I said there was a whole group of people sitting there at Marion's in hospitality, and they asked about you and where you were. And then we got talking, and we were all unanimous in saying you retired too early. You did. You're the guy that beat Ayrton Senna more than anyone else in Formula 3. Do you ever look at those cars? I mean, I know it's a long time ago now, but do you ever get that little twitch?
You do. Well, as you know, when you first, and I'm not sure you have officially hung up your helmet, but when you start pro racing at the level you're running at, you do. It's hard, but certainly I've been lucky with TV to kind of, you never can replace driving, but certainly the passion and the intensity of being involved in the TV broadcast is a lot of fun. But it's great memories. And it's funny, you talk about, did I give up too early? I was talking to Pruitt back at the Raw when he made his announcement about retirement.
That's the other end of the scale.
Well, the very last race I did was for Oldsmobile in the factory car, the GTS car, Sebring in 1995, and Scott was one of my teammates. So I retired 23 years ago, and here is Scott now 23 years later, staying at the top of his game for that long, and that puts into perspective just what an amazing career that Scott has had. To go out, not on top, do you know what I mean? Because obviously they didn't win this weekend, but he's still been truly competitive in the last 2 or 3 years, and choosing the time when he goes, and the championships and accolades, we all know his record at Daytona, pretty cool career that he's had. But yes, some people say I waited too long to give up, Justin.
Well, I'm just gonna bring in lovely Catherine Legg right now. She's gonna join us. You can say hi to her because you didn't see her. Hey, Catherine.
Hi. How are you guys?
Hey, love.
Really well. How are you? You're not on the loo, are you? It looks like the noise is echoing.
Is it?
No, it's good.
Okay.
There we are. Calvin, I think, was it you that mentioned it during the broadcast? I'm not putting you on the spot here, but Catherine does get pretty sporty, doesn't she? She's not a little puppy. She's more of a lioness. Catherine.
Well, that's what gives her age, Justin. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it does.
Ruffle her feathers.
She does.
It's not the weekend, Catherine. Your lap times were superb, and I know you wanted to win, but it was a great result for you and the rest of the team.
Yeah, it was. It was. I think it was all we could have hoped for, honestly, because we just didn't have the straight line speed. We had the lap time pretty close, but we just couldn't do it on the banking. So when we were like in battle with them, there was just, they could draft us. We couldn't even stay in their draft. So I think everybody on the team did a fantastic job, and it's not easy. I'm really happy in one hand, I'm disappointed in the other because I really, really, really wanted to win, but and second is so close. It's like we're almost there. But no, everybody on the team did a great job, and really proud of them. And we're the NAEC leaders, which of course is what Acura and Mike wanted. So we achieved what we set out to do.
Wow.
Some new teammates. I know you're playing well, but Brent and Alvaro, what are your thoughts on running with Alvaro for the first time?
Yeah, so obviously AJ and I have been friends since we were doing Champ Car and Atlantics 12 years ago. It makes me seem old, doesn't it? So I've known AJ for a long, long time, and I'd never met Alvaro before. The first time I met him, I walked down into the hotel lobby and threw coffee over him by mistake. Bless him. But no, he was awesome. They were all really awesome. I raced with Trent I was coaching in Imola when they did the Trofeo World Finals. So I knew him a little bit. But Alvaro was just super chill, laid back, got the job done. Really, really great guys, really good bunch of guys. And on the 93 car as well, you know, we had Combe and Justin Hart, who is one of my favorite people. And yeah, everybody just got on super well. So it was good.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to carry on the chat, Cal. Thanks for coming on the show. Lots of people asking questions. I will actually just ask you this, Calvin, before you go. The so-called nuclear penalty for the Audi, as one of the IMSA officials said to me, a nuclear penalty would be giving it to them after the race. It was, I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, it was, when I spoke to them, you know, Peter was like, we just did what we did. I mean, we put the parts on. What do you think?
Well, I know they went through tech pretty heavily after the race, and my understanding is, and we'll wait for the official word on the outcome, is that nothing was found. So it's difficult, mate. I mean, obviously, they were gaining a considerable amount of time with the pit stops on the refueling flow rate. The team says they were the parts that were mandated. The curiosity is how come the Magnus car, Audi, obviously, supposedly with the same pieces, weren't getting the refueling done in the same amount of time. But as of right now, we haven't really heard anything from anyone that says they were doing anything wrong and they were going by the rules. So it's a tough one. I mean, to have a lap and a half lead, get a 5-minute penalty and go down a lap and a half is a tough one. They had a few issues further on, so who knows whether it was indeed for the victory. But, you know, it's a lesson for everyone, and this is why we race, and this is why series put on races, and I'm sure they will do a thorough investigation and determine what exactly happened there. But it's tough. I mean, but, you know, when it happened, I mean, you're down in the pit lane. We didn't know what was going on. We're looking at the lap times. It's like, well, they're not showcasing a lap time that is out of hand. And we thought maybe a straightaway speed or something crazy like that. And then obviously it was down to the pit stop stuff.
Yeah, unusually, I was right for once, wasn't I? And I didn't even make it up. Listen, Calvin, it's so fun. Missed you at the racetrack. Will you come to Sebring just for early on in the week?
Possibly, but we're in Long Beach, you know, so party time.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, it's my birthday coming up soon. I'll speak to you soon, Cal. Thanks a lot, mate.
All the best, Catherine. Cheers.
Bye, Calvin.
Well, it's just you and I now. How nice is that? Someone's just said, look at that. It is. Great job, Catherine. Do you know what? You are both on and off the track. You were on the track and then you were off the track. I just saw the video of that. That was a wild ride. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was a definite oh shit, for the want of a better phrase, moment. So as I got shoved wide and I was over the grass, I was all 4 tires locked up. I saw the signs and I thought, oh, maybe they'll slow me down a bit because I can see the wall looming in the distance. And so I aimed for the signs. That didn't slow me down at all. I hit the track. It slowed me down a little bit, but I'm still all 4 locked up going off. So I'm thinking I've got to spin. I've got to spin because if I spin, that's the only thing that's going to take some of the speed off here. So
fast thinking.
Tried to do that.
That's so cool. I mean, do you know what, though? I mean, it gets you. It's not the way to get the TV time, but I tell you what, that Audi's strong, isn't it? Gee whiz.
Yeah, the Audi was strong. Actually, when it got the penalty, I was thinking it was for the speed because it came past me like it had push to pass or something like that. It was crazy fast. The Audi, the Lambo was really strong in a straight line.
Yeah, I know.
You know, everybody gets their lap time in different ways, but sometimes. And
where's yours? The NSX. It looks, to me, it's just so beautiful. It looks so good. It looks so planted, and you know, I like my supercars. I like my special cars. Oh, there you are, and there I am. Sorry, everybody, that just disappeared off quickly. I love my. You there? Sorry. You know, I love my hyper, super duper fast cars, and it really appeals to me. And I haven't driven one on the road other than the little feature I did for IMSA last year. It's pretty special, isn't it? It's a sexy thing.
It's amazing. The road car, in my opinion, is just as amazing as the race car. We went to the plant, and the attention to detail and the passion and the love and everything that goes into making those cars. It's the only supercar made in North America, and they have such pride in it, and that evokes the emotion. You know, when you were a kid, right, and you had a car that you got excited about driving, and it just made you, it did something to you. That's what the NSX does to me, and that hasn't happened in a long time. The road car version, I mean. But the race car version, it does like, it brakes better. Our ABS, we've done a lot of work on, so I think we gain a little bit in the braking, and our traction control is really good too. So we've got, you know, it's a shame that we didn't have the top speed. I know that BOP is not easy to match when everybody's playing silly buggers, but it was what it was. It
wasn't. But you do, I joked. I actually like seeing, I'm going to come up with a new word for it. What is it? Catherine Mageddon? I don't know. When suddenly I see you like this girl at school playing rounders or netball who just suddenly wants to like take on the entire opposite team because she felt wronged or something. You obviously had a competitive spirit since you were a very wee lass. Otherwise you wouldn't be doing this. But it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to contain your emotions when shit happens. Yeah, it is. However, I do think I learned my lesson from an incident or two last year where you just have to keep your cool and get on with it. So I actually came over the radio this time after the prototype took me out, and I was like, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm not going to get angry. Tell me who it was, I'm not going to get angry. Exactly. Tell me the safe word. Tell me the safe word. And then I went and like laid down a few good laps just to prove a point that I'm over it and I've learned from my mistakes of the past, because that was brilliant.
It doesn't do you any good, does it?
It doesn't do you any good, and that's the sign of maturing as a real professional. And listen, you've been handed the keys as one of these top-end drivers, and it's all about, it's so much more, isn't it? You've got to be fast, you've got to look good, you've got to be able to talk, you've got to be able to handle your emotions, you've got to be good at engineering. Starting off to being a pro driver is not, well, it's a long list of things, isn't it? Being fast is just like one of them.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't just go on how fast you are anymore, does it? There's a lot of politics and stuff involved as well. But, you know, I just try and be the best that I can be in and out of the car. I've learned a lot, actually, from developing the NSX, and would you believe it, from doing the Delta Wing thing. I know you love that car.
You know, it was my favorite. It really was. It was.
No, but in all seriousness, it did teach me a thing or two about development and engineering, and so I think as a driver, it made me better. So I would say that I'm as strong as anybody else on that side of things. And yeah, learning to control the emotions, and it's 24 hours. You know, you have to realize that nothing's going to be won or lost in a split second unless you make a big old mistake. So
exactly, you get to, we like that leg apocalypse. That's funny. Or Hurricane Catherine. Okay, there you are. Hey, this is nice though. This is from Lee. NSX has been, you know, I don't know if it was ridiculed actually, Lee, but it's now starting to show its true colors in terms of performance, isn't it?
Yeah. It you know, when I was a little girl, this is a bit of a weird fact about Catherine. When I was little, I had a couple of pictures on my wall of cars, right? One of them was the old style NSX. So it's kind of really neat that I'm now getting to race the new one. Yeah. The other one was a Gullwing Mercedes, but I don't see Merc coming up to me anytime soon.
No. You'd have to date a really old guy to get in one of those. it would be. So this is a nice question. Edward says, as a woman on the track, do you feel the men are more aggressive towards you than they are with each other?
No, not at all. I think The on the track stuff, for the most part, okay. The professional drivers out there, no, not at all. I think they just see me as another race car driver, and they're just doing the best job that they can do. Some of the gentleman drivers, maybe more so, but I think my battles are more off track than they are on track.
Yeah, well answered, Tony Dismo, our main man at the track. Tony, you're right. Your save was really good, and the whole race. Do you know what? I don't suggest you watch 24 hours of broadcast, because I was there. I wouldn't. I wouldn't be able to watch it again. I wouldn't be able to watch myself. But we really sung your praises and the pace you ran, and maybe that's why they were your laps as well after you got a bit pissed off. But it was Daytona. You could just tell everybody what it's like for me, that I know you had a really good night session too. I love it out there in the middle of the night. I love the rhythm you get in a 24-hour race. It's really not frantic if you get the right group around you. Describe that.
Yeah. Thank you, first of all. The check is in the mail for the nice things.
Thank you so much.
No, I like all the stints. I like starting, I like finishing, I like the middle of the night. I like the rhythm as well. Like I said to the guys, you don't want to finish on a single stint. You want to, at least if you're going to finish the race, you want to be on a double or a triple, because once you're out there and it just becomes more and more natural, and you become like, it's driving more subconsciously than it is consciously. When you first get in, it's like a bit of a shock to the system, where you have to remember your brake points and you have to remember what you're doing. Whereas after a couple of laps, you're just kind of driving around, and that's when you really start to enjoy it. And I love getting into the rhythm with it. I love it when the crew guys give me the distance, to the car in front, to the car behind. I know what I can do safely at 99% of what I'm capable of, and I'm like, it's like you're hunting them down. It's cool.
Yeah, it's good, and it was fun. Everybody there, and the fans were crazy. Now, Matt Yoakum asked this question. Matt was in the pit lane with us.
Yeah, I saw that.
Do they lose time on driver changes? Because AJ has to take a large yellow pages book out of the car when he hands off to Catherine. You're not asking for a friend, Matt. You're just shit stirring. Yeah.
So we actually, one of the really cool things about the four of us was we all shared the same seat. And that seat was made by Andy Lally last year. So I used it last year because I'm relatively low maintenance as a driver. I don't want to be a prima donna, so I'll just get in and drive anything. And so I used that seat, and I'm like, it'd be really good if you guys could use the same seat, and we did. So that was mega.
Oh, that's cool. Easy. Hey, listen, I know you've probably got to go, but one last question. This is a really good one from Michael Mast. How important is the spotter at Daytona? From where I am in the pits, obviously I look up and I see them all up on the top, silhouetted up on top of the grandstand. I never ran with a spotter there. Do you use one? How was it?
Yes, we do, and it's really, really important. I think more so in the GT class than in the prototype class, because you are the slowest class on track. So what's coming up behind you is always important. You want to lose as little time as possible whilst being overtaken. So really important. They did a new thing this year. They made the GTLM and the prototype lights all white, and the GTD car lights yellow. So we could tell whether it was a car in class or not. But when it's in the night and you've got white lights going everywhere behind you, like it's really, it's really important. The cars aren't that easy to see out of. We have a camera that has arrows showing us how close they're getting, so we can.
So that's like the Corvette technology. That came from the Corvettes, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
But then it's good to know who's in the car as well. Sometimes it's like, okay, that car's behind you, and then okay, yeah, that car's completely cray, or or like another Acura, like an Acura DPI. If you take one of those out, you've lost your job for the rest of the year.
Oh, you have. Especially, this is a good question for Mike. How is it having 20 prototypes out there compared to other years?
I was surprised there wasn't more yellows, honestly.
What happened with that? Do you know why? I posted it today. IMSA did a fantastic, I think Brett Ramka, who's our camera editor for IMSA, I'm just jumping in it because I think this is it. I posted a video that, I reposted that they had. I never thought I'd say it, Catherine. I miss PC cars this weekend, right? What? They were the disrupting effect, weren't they? You should watch this video. It's set to music, and they're up there. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, I didn't actually have a problem with most of the P cars, but some of them, were a little crazy, and I think a lot of the other drivers felt the same way. But for the most part, being overtaken and everything was fine. As you know, they have so much more power than we do. It costs them a fraction of a second, like maybe a couple of tenths to wait and just be safe. Yeah. But yeah, it was a good and very interesting race, and the field was very impressive.
Well, do you know what? I actually want to. I'm going to end with this one. I really love this. Now, I think Nicole means this. I think, I'm not sure she ended the sentence. I love Catherine. It's so great to have ladies like her and Nielsen in racing that aren't awful. You know what she's meaning.
The same way. Yes. And actually, Nicole, that is a topic that is very close to my heart. It's difficult to shift the mindset of people and perception of people when that perception is being reinforced. So I agree. So that's all I'm trying to do out here.
Well, listen, Catherine, thanks so much for joining. It was really, really lovely having you talk and hearing you. And I never get to see you away from. This is as close as we're going to get to going out for dinner or having a drink or catching up.
I've been in your house now.
You actually have been. I've been in, and I think, have I been in your bedroom? It looks like. So that's funny.
No, it's the office.
It's the office. Oh, okay. You need to put some more things behind you. You've got to have less of an. You've got to have more of an ego.
I've got one.
Oh, have you? Okay.
But I'm kind of like minimalist.
Hey, do you know what you want? You want to be like João Barbosa and have Rolexes on your wrist in your office, don't you? Right?
Yes, desperately.
Desperately. Catherine, see you soon. Take care.
Bye, guys.
See you at Sebring. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Well, listen, everybody. I got to get off air now. It is that time. I've been. You've been with me for an hour, but I did really want to mention this, and this is a very, very important moment. I'm just going to close this screen here, and I thought I'd bring it up. This is a little sticker that was done, okay? And George Waltman. Now, George Ironman, and he actually, back at the end of 1966, and it was the Daytona 24 Hours, and actually he was the only man to have ever run the Daytona 24 Hours all on his own. I'm just making sure it was 1966 because I think actually I was a bit wrong on that year. 2000. Oh, sorry, guys. Did I just fall off? I'm sorry, guys. I should be back right now. I don't know where I lost you on that. Very quickly, George Ironman Waltman, 1968, did the race on his own. I hope you actually, hope you're all hearing now. It's an amazing story. He actually drove down from New York in his Morgan Plus 4. He did practice. He did the race, drove it down to Miami, went on some business, came back, drove it all the way back up to New York on the same Michelin tires. I think it's an extraordinary story. His daughter, Tara, and her brother, they're watching this. Just wanted to definitely say it's quite a feat. No one will ever do that again. They produced this really lovely little sticker here. Maybe they could send me some more of them and I'll give them out to you guys. You know, racing is full of incredible heroes that do it professionally, amazing race teams. And also it's literally littered with stories of people who's at the time they were just doing what they wanted to do. But history will say that actually it was, quite an amazing experience and quite a feat. So Tara, well done to you and your family for actually, following it up and honoring his name. That is very cool. 50 years anniversary. Guys, thank you so much for watching. It's the end of my show. Thank you to Calvin, to Dane, to Catherine, definitely to Scott for coming on. Really great. And, of course, João Barbosa winning the race overall with Christian Fittipaldi and Felipe Albuquerque. I've had so much fun. I've had so much fun talking about it. Remember, please share the show, like the show, spread the good words. I'm going to be back next week. I have quite a lot of fun things happening over the next few days, and I'll share them with you next week. And let's try and find ourselves an exciting guest or two. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.